So if you are not ovulating, you are not producing progesterone. Of course you have chronically low progesterone. And if you just are like, oh, I have chronically low progesterone, that's my symptoms, let me just go on progesterone. No, let's not do that. Let's figure out why we're not ovulating. So if we are not ovulating, that is hands down the reason why we have low progesterone, because we aren't producing it. So today we are going to be talking about 5 easy ways to raise your progesterone. Now, I feel like 99, that's a pretty high percentage, maybe 90% of women in my DMs are asking this question or some form of this question because you have a lot of symptoms of low progesterone. So you're going to learn today 5 things that you can do, like walk away from and start doing today. Let's go over some symptoms of low progesterone because I think that might give you some insight into what's going on. And then after we go over the symptoms, we're going to go over how and why it would be low, and then we'll go over what to do about it. Because while we want to get rid of our symptoms, I am a big believer that if we understand how and why, that's going to help us with everything else, okay? So symptoms can be brown spotting before your period, really painful periods, heavy periods, PMS, anxiety, a lot of digestive issues before your period, and probably most of you raised your hand. Okay, so when we're looking at progesterone, I also like to look at metabolites. So B-pregnanediol is the most abundant in the human body, but it's actually A-pregnanediol that helps with the sleep and the anxiety and associated with PMDD. So when I will run Dutch tests, which is a dried urine hormone panel on my clients, we are looking at the metabolites because this is important, I believe, when especially we're dealing with a lot of PMS, a lot of anxiety, a lot of sleep, to see what's going on with those metabolites. Because if you were just looking maybe at blood, we wouldn't be able to get that information. So I do like going a little bit deeper there. Okay. And I often hear brown spotting is just old blood. Yeah. So why? Why is it old blood? You need to ask that question. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecology said that your menstrual cycle is your 5th vital sign. So I hope you take that as a sign to start paying attention to your period. When you have PMS, when you have period cramps, when you have the brown blood, when you have too heavy of a flow, when we have anxiety, when all of these things are happening, that's a symptom to your body that something's off. And we look at symptoms and we go, ooh, how do we cover you up? How do we get rid of you? What's wrong? But symptoms are a gift. I know, you probably didn't expect me to say that. Symptoms are a gift because they're telling you that something is wrong. And if we don't fix the something that's wrong, those symptoms are just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and more serious. And the more serious your problems get, the more expensive they get. So when we start having the symptoms, thank you, body, because now we can do something about it before it gets more serious, before it gets more expensive, before it gets bigger. Okay. So that's important to know. Okay. So when we think about our sex hormones, which we want to think about progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, the primary goal of your body is to stay alive. The reproductive system is not a priority over staying alive. Your menstrual cycle is the last one in line in order of importance. Now, the reason why I say this is because your body will always prioritize keeping you safe over making a baby. And even though your goal may not be to make a baby right now, you have to think about how the reproductive system in its entirety and its primal purpose works to have a baby, right? Even if you're not trying to have one right now. So if we are constantly in fight or flight, your body doesn't feel safe and it's trying to keep you alive, do you think it's going to have balanced sex hormones? It's not. It's not. So we need to start first with making sure that our body is in that safe environment, in that healing environment, that we aren't running away from the lions constantly so that we can have the balanced sex hormones. Now, something that's really interesting when we think about all of this is that we go, I can never live in a stress-free society. I can never live in a symptom-free place, in a non-toxic, stress-free environment. That's true. You never will. But we can learn to regulate that nervous system. Okay. So number one way that we are going to support and raise our progesterone is going to be regulating the nervous system. I talk about this all the time, and I know you're sick of hearing it, but it's really important. And oftentimes I hear women say, I regulated my nervous system. I took a bubble bath, or I just took a magnesium bath, or I read a book. And while all of those are great activities, it's not regulating your nervous system. Regulating your nervous system is increasing your body's capacity to hold stress and to fluctuate from fight or flight back to rest and digest easier, from shutdown back to rest and digest faster. That's regulating your nervous system, having a flexible, adaptable nervous system. Okay? It doesn't mean that you'll always be calm, that your kids will never drive you crazy, that your workplace will never drive you crazy. Okay, that won't happen. Okay, so regulating our nervous system, and there's many ways to kind of go about this, but let's just think about it for a second. So up here we have pregnenolone. Think about it as your grandmother or grandfather, however you would like to think about that hormone, from which most things come. And of those things comes cortisol and progesterone. Now, cortisol is our fight or flight hormone, and that's how we often think about it. And progesterone over here, keep calm, carry on hormone, make babies hormone. Body will always prioritize fight or flight, always prioritize cortisol over progesterone. So if we are constantly in a stressful environment, we're constantly putting toxic stress on our body, we're never going to have balanced progesterone. It's just not going to happen. Okay. And so when we think about this, it's not, you can take all of the supplements to raise progesterone, but the reason why I put this one first is if we don't focus on it first, we aren't going to get anywhere. We aren't. And this is where I'll see a lot of women with really short luteal phases and spotting in their luteal phases, and they can't get pregnant, and they have a lot of PMS, and they have a lot of anxiety. Progesterone plays a lot of big roles. And we have to support the nervous system. Now, there is so many things that we could go into regulating a nervous system. We do a lot of this in the Hormone Reset program, teaching you how to rewire your brain, subconscious reprogramming to put your body into that state of rest and digest. But I want you to walk away with some things that you can start today. Number one, find more joy. We get so caught up in the day-to-day. We always sit there and go, I have to be calm. I have to do my meditation. I have to do my stretching. I have to do whatever. Can you just start with bringing more joy, more laughter? An exercise that I often give my clients is doing one thing per day that makes them deep belly laugh. Whether that's playing a game with their kids or doing something that you used to do as a kid that you thought was really fun. What can you do to bring big belly laughs back into your day? We don't laugh enough. We don't. So serious. We're so just plugging on all the time. Bring more laughter into your day. And then the second thing that I would do is start with just checking in with your body throughout the day and seeing what your home away from home is. So our home where we want to be is rest and digest and heal and happy and regulated. But your home away from home is probably where you spend the majority of your time right now, which is fight or flight or shutdown. So if you have a ladder, our rest and digest, our heal is in the middle right here. And then you can go up the ladder to fight or flight, or you can go down the ladder to shutdown. And our goal is to keep coming back to this middle, this rest and digest. So a couple times a day, can you just literally check in and say, where am I? Where am I in my body right now? Do I feel like I want to punch a wall? Do I feel very wired? Do I feel just very upset? Or do I feel very shut down, like I need to go cry in the closet? Which one of those resonates with you? And so sit with that, multiple times throughout the day. Just see where you are. See where your home away from home is. And then once you've started to do that for a little bit, the next step would be to regulate a little bit every single time you do that. So let's say you check in and you go, okay, I am definitely in shutdown. I want to go cry in a closet. I don't want to talk to people. I just can't handle this. How can you move that energy just a little bit? Is that turning on some music and just slightly swaying to it? Is it literally you can give yourself a hug? Is it squeezing your forearms to kind of come back into your body? Calm your nervous system down a little bit? Calm, calm, calm. Is it going outside, getting some fresh air? All of these things can be done in 2-3 minutes. Maybe you're in fight or flight. Can you do some jumping jacks? Can you do some squats? Can you do some air punches? And then do something like calming, like squeezing your forearms or the peripheral, what's that called? Yeah, it's peripheral regulating tool, which if you've been on any of my free trainings, we've probably done that one. So always move the energy. So if we're in shutdown, maybe bring the energy up a little bit. Do a regulating thing. If we're in fight or flight, can we move that energy and then do a regulating thing? Okay. So that's number one. Start to regulate that nervous system. Start to regulate it. And then we go deep into like subconscious reprogramming and brain rewiring. Because why does your body react in certain situations? That way we need to rewire that. Okay, and then the second simple thing that we can do to raise your progesterone is going to be supplements. Yes, I do actually like supplements. So some of my favorites that can help support progesterone is vitamin C and vitamin E. Those are great ones. Vitamin B6 is also another great one. Magnesium, simply because it's your relaxation mineral, and the more we're able to relax, then the more we're obviously able to support progesterone, because we already talked about that with the nervous system. I would focus on potassium-rich foods because we need enough potassium to absorb magnesium. We also need enough vitamin B6 to help absorb magnesium. So it kind of all goes hand in hand. Would not be supplementing with potassium, my dears. I would be focusing on the potassium-rich foods. Vitamin E, vitamin C, I feel like I already said that. And seed cycling. I love seed cycling. I know we talk about seed cycling a lot, but that's 1 tablespoon of pumpkin seeds, 1 tablespoon of flax seeds whole, and grind them right before eating them organic from period to ovulation, and then switch to sesame and sunflower from ovulation to period. And again, buy whole, buy organic, grind them before eating them. You guys know I talk about Funk It Wellness, FUNK seed cycling kits, because they come from B Corp certified farms and they're organic. And then the founder she grinds them right before she sends them to you. The reason why I don't buy ground from the store is because I don't know how long they've been sitting on the shelf, and they go rancid much faster when they're ground. And so buying them whole and unground at the store is important, but I get them from her because that company grinds them right before they ship them to you. So I know they're high quality. I know they just got ground, and it's just, I don't have to put them in the coffee grinder, and I can just scoop them onto whatever. So I love them. I do a subscription because you get free shipping, and you can stack that with the code LEAH15, LEAH15. I've been using them since I had Landon. So he's 4.5. That's a really long time. Okay. Seed cycling is an amazing way to support the hormones. It also just really supports that ebb and flow of your cycle. Okay. The other thing that I really love about seed cycling is sometimes you have a lot of symptoms of low progesterone simply because it's just too low in relation to how high your estrogen is. And so bringing in the seed cycling and bringing in that fiber is also a great way to help your body move out that estrogen. Okay. So that is where I would start there. And then this one may seem like common knowledge, but you need to eat enough food, especially enough good fats, because that's what we are making hormones from. Okay. So make sure that you are eating enough food. Make sure you're getting in enough good fats so your body can do what it needs to do, right? I mean, we're not even talking about like chronic dieting, which is constantly putting your body under this stress. But if you think about it, if you were in a famine, are we going to prioritize making babies if we're in a famine? No. And your body doesn't know that we're not in a famine just because we're going on a really harsh diet. It goes, we're running out of food again. Here we go. Store. Don't don't make babies, don't have enough progesterone. We can't do that. We got to prioritize. We're in a famine. So we need to think about that when we are trying to lose weight. Weight loss should be easy. It should be effortless. Our body should release the weight when the hormones are balanced. But we're fighting against ourselves if we're already imbalanced, and then we're grossly cutting calories, and your body goes, well, now we're in a famine. And then you find that you just can't lose weight no matter what. Yeah. Okay. So make sure we're eating enough food, especially good fats. And then figuring out food sensitivities and other inflammatory stressors. And these can be stressors that are coming internally, like from toxins, from parasites, actual emotional stress, all of those things. Because again, the stress and cortisol, again, our body's going to prioritize that over making babies, over progesterone. Now, food sensitivities are tricky because I don't really like food sensitivity tests. If you have food sensitivities, it's because we have a gut dysbiosis issue. So we have to get into what's going on in the gut and heal the gut and heal all of the tight junctions in our gut barriers so that too large of food proteins aren't getting through, which is what's causing your food sensitivity. So we have to heal that versus just like taking a food sensitivity test, taking those foods out, not healing the gut, and then getting more food sensitivities. So we do have to start first with, fixing and healing that gut. And food elimination sometimes can be a part of that process, but you do need to go a step deeper as to why I have the food sensitivity. So what's going on with the stomach acid, what's going on with the digestion, what's going on with all of those types of things. And then overall like toxic burden, because that's going to be causing stress to your body. So when you think about a toxic burden in your body, that can be endocrine disruptors, that can be, again, emotional stress. That's going to be hard on your body. Toxins from like actual parasites and pathogens or heavy metals, all of those are going to be very, very hard and stressful on your body. It always amazes me. So I've had so many women come to me who have been on progesterone cream for a really long time. And you may be someone who thinks that I have low progesterone, so I need to go on progesterone cream. And I will tell you that if you are pregnant and you tested for low progesterone, I'm going to be the first one to tell you to get your booty to the doctor and get on progesterone. I 100% will. But if we are not pregnant and we're just dealing with low progesterone, I'm also going to be the first one to tell you that there's a reason why you have low progesterone. And we need to figure out why. Because if we just try and supplement with progesterone cream, it's not going to fix the issue. And some women do actually react very badly to that. So we need to figure out what's going on. What's causing the low progesterone? And the reason why I mention that is a lot of times I've had women come in who have had chronically low progesterone. So their luteal phase from ovulation to period, which should be 12 to 14 days, was under 10. That used to be mine. Mine was 8 days. And obviously they were trying to get pregnant and they couldn't get pregnant because their progesterone was so low. And simply eliminating inflammatory stressors, they lengthened their luteal phase to 12 days without progesterone cream. And they're like, I've been going to NAPRO doctors and I thought that progesterone cream was the only thing that was going to help me lengthen this phase. But they still had a ton of other symptoms, right? Because they didn't get to the root issue. And so when we got to that and we removed the inflammatory stressors, then their luteal phase lengthened. I had another client, and I think this story is very cool. So she had, unfortunately, many, 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 many miscarriages. And she used to have to get progesterone injections like so often during her pregnancies. And we worked together for some time, and she had so many toxins, like in so many heavy metals in her body. We worked really hard. We worked on her foundation. She'd had a lot of blood sugar imbalances. She'd had a lot of blood sugar struggles with when she was pregnant too, even though she never got diagnosed with gestational diabetes. And so we worked on all of that, built her body up, and then she started releasing all these heavy metals, and she started finally being able to lose the weight around her midsection. And then she got pregnant. She had an amazing, successful pregnancy. Like her progesterone was the most stable that it's ever been. And that's the magic of figuring out what's causing the issue in the first place, right? We got to go deeper there. Gotta go deeper there. And then another really easy, simple hack is sleeping in complete darkness. That sounds crazy, but it's just super helpful, super simple, and it's just easy to do. Just get some blackout curtains, making sure you sleep in complete darkness so we can be in rest, in simplicity, in happiness. So get some blackout curtains. And really, the more we can prioritize really good quality sleep, the better all your hormones are going to be, because again, of how this impacts cortisol and then therefore progesterone. So remember, we talked about pregnenolone up here, from which come cortisol and progesterone. So our body will always prioritize cortisol over progesterone. So a lot of these things that you hear me talk about are impacting cortisol, even though it's like stress and toxins, still impacting cortisol, right? But inflammation in the body. Okay. So you're going to go with regulating your nervous system. Maybe you're going to bring in some supplements, going to make sure you're eating enough food, especially good fats. You're going to start figuring out where inflammatory markers are coming, or where inflammation is coming from in your body, toxins, parasites, food sensitivities, figure out where that stress is coming from, and sleep in complete darkness, because that one's just really simple to do. And before we go, let's just talk about when we produce progesterone, in case you were interested in testing it. Okay. So you produce progesterone after ovulation. So the follicle that released the egg forms what's called your corpus luteum, which is now producing your progesterone. So if you were going to test progesterone before ovulation, it was going to tell you it's low. So that's why you have to make sure you test 5 to 7 days after ovulation, which means you need to be tracking ovulation. Because if you're someone that ovulates later in your cycle, just, trying to test on day 19 isn't going to be accurate for you. You have to make sure you're tracking ovulation, and then you're testing 5 to 7 days after ovulation to get an accurate read on your progesterone. So if you are not ovulating, you are not producing progesterone. Of course, you have chronically low progesterone. And if you just are like, oh, I have chronically low progesterone, that's my symptoms, let me just go on progesterone. No, let's not do that. Let's figure out why we're not ovulating. Okay. So if we are not ovulating, that is hands down the reason why we have low progesterone, because we aren't producing it. So then we have to figure out what's impacting ovulation, which is a topic for a different episode, because there are so many things that can impact ovulation. So this episode is much more so if you have low progesterone, but you are ovulating, these are things that I would bring in. Now, if you aren't ovulating, and that's why you have low progesterone, then this is going to be a topic for a different day, okay? Because there's so many things that can impact that ovulation. So I would really like to know which one of these you're going to walk away with, because I think we often hear, regulate my nervous system, regulate my certain nervous system. Great. I'm going to just go take bubble baths. And that's not it. Or I'm just going to journal, Regulating your nervous system is being able to shift back to that rest and digest very quickly, and increase that capacity, which again, start with the things that we talked about. It's not going to happen overnight. Okay. And then maybe you're going to bring in some supplements to help. And again, maybe we don't bring in all of them. Maybe you just bring in a couple of them, right? Or maybe you're a step ahead of the game and you're going to go ahead and get tested so you can get very specific. You're going to make sure you're eating enough food, especially good fats. Okay. Pay attention, figure out where those sensitivities and inflammation are coming from. Honestly, sleeping in complete darkness has got to be the easiest hack, you guys. It's so simple, Just put some blackout curtains on your bed. Or not on your bed, on your windows. On your windows. And again, that's just going to also help you sleep better. There's some other things you can do to support sleep as well, outside of just sleeping in complete darkness. If you need a fan, dropping the temp in your rooms, you can cuddle up under the blankets, making sure you have a regular sleep routine. So it's not like going to bed at 10, then going to bed at 1 a.m. and blah, 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 being very consistent with that. So anyways, start doing that to help support your progesterone levels and report back. Let me know how it's going.